In this episode, we're going to talk about something that I feel like gets a bit misinterpreted or maybe confused out there. And who knows, it might still be that way after this episode. We'll see, right? And that is the transfer of energy. Sometimes people call it transmutation. I like to think of it as we are moving energetic currency around and we're choosing what form we actually are the energetic currency, and then we choose what form of abundance we actually want to receive back: love, relationships, money, whatever you have it. Um, but I think that the misunderstanding discrepancy really comes from we still think of energy as something that happens to us rather than something that we are actually expanding into. Like, when we say we are source, okay, so you think there's a certain vision or whatever that comes up in your mind with that. But do you believe that to the degree that you are source not only as you are as a static being, like you are source in that you are given the ability to continue to expand the energy. And you can take it one step further and say, not just given the ability, that's what you're here to do. When we talk about transmutation of energy, and we can frame this in a function of the money conduit, which is, a term that I talk about inside the Spiritual Investor, and I've talked about here, which is, you know, as you go out and you are giving value into the world, then what happens is that is an energetic currency exchange, and then it is matched with value. Now, it is an indirect relationship, and once you get into the directness, that is where your mind takes over, and that's where the element of control comes in. Like, if I say this, I need you to do this, or if I give you this, then I need you to give me this. Then that's where the whole thing breaks down, and it gets shoved right back into the 3D world of doing and getting. Um, when we are talking about energy as not just energy as something that we're here and we're harnessing, and also it gets kind of framed in this, well, when I have energy I feel good, or when I have energy I feel the energy. Yes, you that is true to a certain degree, but that is also it contains an illusion as well, because are you seeing energy as a feeling and an emotion, or are you seeing energy as the amount of, like, the power that you're bringing into the world? When I say manage my energy, what I'm doing is I am managing my energy so that I can be a clear conduit for information, because that's what I feel like I'm here to do in the world. Um, that becomes a responsibility for me, but also it doesn't end there. So it doesn't end with, okay, I'm a clear conduit, I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to talk. What it does is, if I'm really, really wanting to expand, and this could be myself personally, or this could be expand this message out into the world, then I would also at the same time recognize that my quality, if you will, of energy that I am bringing forward all the time is ever increasing in what I'll just say is value. Now, a lot of these words, like, they don't really match conceptually with what I'm even trying to describe here, but I think you can also get what you get from this, and what you don't get from this, then you don't get either, right? Um, so the quality can be equated to the level of expansion. So when I am managing my energy, I am coming to the table here. I am, let's just say, showing up for this podcast in a way that you are feeling like there's more and more connecting with you. There's more power for you. Now, there is a certain filtering system that's going on here too, whereby, like, sometimes people are like, I don't feel that, and they go away. And then other times they'll come here and they'll listen to one podcast and they're like, oh my God, I have to join your mastermind. Tell me what to do. Right. It's, it's really going to depend on where you are and your almost like your craving for this. And that's one of the reasons that I don't try and pour this into a certain type of container that, like, I'm never thinking about, well, this is what they want to hear. Because the moment I do that, I'm pouring it into a container that I've made up in my mind, and then I'm devaluing the information for you. And so, what I have taken on since the beginning of this podcast, which is over 4 years ago, is how can I keep minimizing my filtering system? So I don't come here going, this is what I'm going to teach. I come here saying, how clean and clear am I? Therefore, the information itself contains the momentum of expansion, because I cannot control expansion of energy with my mind. I can get my mind out of the way and allow expansion of energy to occur. So let's relate this back to the money conduit concept. The money conduit concept is where information comes in. I think of it like it comes in up here, your head. If you guys aren't watching this, I'm sort of like bringing information into my head. It's going through my body. When it goes through my body, it has to go through all of my filtering of all my conditioning and my stories and my experiences, and then it sort of comes out the bottom and it goes out. And so that is what people are getting from you. That's their experience from you, is whatever is coming through you energetically as the money conduit, right? So let's say you took this on as, well, I'm disconnecting from the results, because that's what you're going to do anyways if you're in the universal field. That's how you get out of the 3D, actually, is you say, I'm not going to connect with the evidence and the results. And then you say, I'm going to show up with a higher quality. Then what happens is everything you throw into motion, all the momentum in the universal world. And then what happens is you become a greater magnet and money comes into you. Now I want to pause here and I want to talk about this evidence and giving up the results, letting go of the results, because there's also some confusion there. So when you are increasing your value, or even if you're not, even if you're just showing up and showing up and showing up, you'll see that maybe you can keep the ball bouncing in your business. Maybe you're making the same amount of money, month after month. That's great. You're showing up as you're showing up, and a lot of your process, I'm going to venture out here and guess, is 90 to 95% is a repeat. You are holding your own expansion down, right? So what you do is you say, okay, well, there's results and there's evidence that this is working. Let's use numbers here. So you're able to bring in consistently $50,000 a month, and it's working, and you're grateful, and you wake up and you journal and you go to yoga, you do all of these things, and you're like, this is a great life. Perfect. Then you go, wait, I want to make $100,000 a month. Like I want that to come in, and I want it to be just as effortless, and I want it to feel alive, and I want it to expand me even further. Okay, well, you have just as great of access to that as you do to what you have now. It's just what you choose, right? So, as you're going through this, you're looking at the evidence that, okay, people are responding to this. This is actually helping people, right? So you are either looking at the results as the indicator of your success, or you are looking at the results of a function of you calibrating to your new process. Now, you can utilize the results as, okay, great. So I'm continuing to open myself and manage my energy in a new way. These messages are still coming in. What over here is also new? What feels new for me? What actually feels outside of me to the point that it feels horrible and awkward, like to the degree that unless the polarity is showing up in your life, are you even breaking the structure? And if you're not breaking the structure, then you're likely not allowing space for something new to come in. I wanted to take a minute here to talk to you about the Spiritual Investor, by far the most robust A to Z money program there is out there. You're going to learn how to increase your income. You're going to learn how to make empowered strategic decisions with your money. And you're going to learn how to expand your money through investing, which buys you freedom so that you can go out there in the world and do more. The goal is that you won't even think about money, that you'll get to a point where the things that you desire and want in your life will automatically be covered by the money that you have effortlessly coming in. Now, all of this is based on my life. It is based on what I have seen actually works out there, but what I do is I put it together in a way that is based on real time right now. How do you read between the lines of the economy? How do you bring your intuition into investing? And how do you actually capitalize on what the opportunities are out there for you right now? Now, I have a background in finance. I worked on a trading floor for over a decade. I also created a real estate business that brought me in over $1 million and is still making money for me. I created a business that helped rescue horses, so taking horses off the track and retraining them. And I created the Spiritual Investor 7 years ago, actually. So I have been able to help thousands of people with their money. And this business, actually, what it does is it helps me fulfill my mission, which is to put more wealth in the hands of those who are conscious, because I believe that that's my part in helping to change the world. So you can get started with all of this for $17. And it does not matter if you are just getting started with investing, if you're just getting started with money, if you're in fear and scarcity, all of that, or it doesn't matter if you have millions of dollars. The Spiritual Investor, we have specifically designed the product suite so that we can meet you exactly where you are. So go to thespiritualinvestor.com and I will meet you there. So there is connection to the results, and there is seeing the results from the place of the observer in a way that allows you to then disconnect your interpretations of the result and choose something new. Because it's not the results, and the results are not evidence that's proving to you that everything is right. Results are the evidence that is reinforcing your previous interpretations of what you saw is success. And there's a really big difference, because it's kind of like you can either utilize the results or the results can utilize you, in that they're reinforcing something that you're really desiring to move beyond. And this meanders us into this whole concept of ego. So, and ego is really it's just we haven't let go of something. That's it. There's really only one. We're just source, and then we have this stuff that's blocking light. So how this ties in with this as well is that the evidence is actually a mirror reflection of your ego. And this can be good or bad. I think sometimes people think ego is bad. It's not. We need this to a certain degree to give us our personality and our pizzazz. And there's something that drew you into me. Like, okay, so I show up here and I'm just like, whatever I say, I say. I love horses. I ride horses. I travel a lot. There's something that is allowing you to resonate with me on a certain level that acts as an invite to you. So we don't want to be eradicating all of these things that make us special and personal, and even the things that make us an asshole. Like, the nice guy or girl in the room isn't always the one that you're listening to, right? Like, we want the polarity and we love to see the polarity. So we love to go to the scary movie, but we don't really want the polarity in our life because we don't want to energetically deal with how horrible it feels within us. Now, what if we change that? If we change that, then what we're doing is the moment we change it is also the moment that we're letting go of that which is blocking light, which automatically sets us up for a higher quality energy to come through. That's why when you're seeing that you're doing all this personal development work, that your life to a certain degree is improving. What you're doing though is you're seeing the polarity and the screaming and the turning up the volume of all the things in your life, and you're saying, well, that means it doesn't work. What if that actually means it's working even better? What if the volume is being turned up because the expansion point is, hello, you get to step into the polarity with the turned up volume as a bigger version of yourself, and you can only step in as a bigger version of yourself. And how is that not expansion? It's not expansion if you're interpreting it through your ego, which is effectively just a set of meaning. And so you can see that when you buck the system on the polarity, what you're really doing is you're shutting down the new version of you, the bigger version, we'll say in this example, that is actually getting exactly what they asked for. You can't recognize that it's what you asked for because it's new. And so if you can't recognize it, what your mind does is it wants to reject it because we fear what we don't understand. And so your mind goes, screw this. I have just gone backwards because now I've gotten exactly what I didn't want. And now my whole life is horrible and I feel horrible. And why did I do this? Is it exactly what you didn't want, or is it such a new version and the mismatch of it to what you wanted is what's saying that it's not what you wanted? That is what you have to ask yourself, because within a state of wanting, because the universe doesn't speak lack, within a state of wanting, there is always a sliver of something new that you got that you do actually want. But you have to actually be the expanded version to clear away the brush, to be able, like, I think of it like it's like a field of weeds and there's like one thing in the middle you're trying to get to. You have to clear away the weeds and be able to get to that one thing. If your desire is that, so it is finding the one thing, then what you've done is you have flipped the system into the expansionary point, which is there is opportunity in everything, versus the holy shit, I can't take this energetically. Oh my God, this is destroying my life. Oh my God, this is like pulling me backwards and this is blah, 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 blah. Now, that's our system. That's our design that I have just described to you. It's my design too in a lot of areas of my life. And thank God it is, because I've expanded in those areas. And if I didn't have that, there's no effing way I'd be able to even connect with you on this level. I would actually say that we all have a version of this going on in all of our lives, even in our relationships. Like, even if I think of a relationship that is really, really good and what I would say is almost perfect, there are ways where I'm showing up with my old self and I'm like, do I want to place my attention on that? If I do, then I can expand into that and then I can discover what is there on the other side of that. There are relationships in my life that literally make me feel like I've been thrown down a cliff 950 times. It's exactly the same thing. That is, the polarity is high, which means the opportunity is high, which means it takes a really big version of me to actually step into that and expand within that structure. Holy shit. But I have always had these visions, and I still have it, and it is happening, by the way, of writing a book that is going to be global and is going to shift things. It is going to create a ripple effect. Well, it's no accident that I just had an opportunity step into my world to actually write this book, and it's magnificent. Now, that doesn't end there though. Now I've got all this other shit going on, and I'm like, there's a part of me, and it's the old self that's like, oh, clean up all this other stuff in your life because you need your energy so that you can focus on finally the pinnacle is here. My mom's like, oh my God, sweetheart, you've been waiting for this your whole life. This is what no, she said, you've been wanting this your whole life. So that's what my monkey mind ego wants to do. The source version of me knows that everything is perfect, and that the more that I live into what is, the more I must drop meaning for everything that is in the past and that I have future forecasted, which is just a version of the past. If I want to draw in the power for this book and for these relationships and for my health and the training that I'm doing in the gym and all of this, riding my horses, you know where I get that from? I don't get that from boundaries. I don't get that from shutting down things in my life, because the moment I do that, I have to focus on what I don't want. What I do is I get that from leaning into what is an opportunity. And I am going to simplify the process. And all of these little things that I have, because, we compartmentalize things in our life. We say, this is a friendship, this is a relationship, this is my gym, this is, whatever, my health, food, work, kids. So what I do is I say, okay, I'm going to simplify, turn down the volume, not change the circumstances, because that volume I can't control. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look straight into it with the power of a warrior. And I'm going to go, what is here for me to see? And what is the version of me that can create from exactly what I have here? And it's probably going to be something I've never fucking done before. And probably something that yesterday I would have said I would have never done. Because that's when you're playing the big game. Because if you know that you would have never done it before, then you know it's got to be outside of ego. Right? So let's wrap this up back where we started. The quality, the transmutation of energy. So you're not just energy, and I feel energy. You are actually energy coming through in a way that you're choosing. Do you want to expand that energy? And I would argue on a minute level, you are expanding energy all the time, because your cells are dividing and you are recalibrating and you are learning and all of that. Well, we have these visions. And these visions, what they are is they are invisible threads that pull us into something. So I have a vision of what a relationship will look like. I have a vision of what this book will look like. I have a vision of what my training is going to be in the gym. And I'm in the gym and I'm running on a 90-degree day with the rest of the group, and I'm pushing myself just little by little by little, because that vision is holding me. And that's what's so beautiful about our imagination. Neville Goddard talks a lot about that the reality is our imagination, because the imagination, that's where it starts, and then we actually bring it down into the 3D world. Well, our attachment to what that imagination looks like in the 3D world is what prevents it from coming into the 3D world. So it's an imagination as a rendition of what the bigger version of you would possibly have, which is why you actually can get to it in an accelerated way when you were going into the feeling of it. And I could do a whole episode on that, but we won't go into that right now. I want to stick with, you are calibrating yourself to expand energy. You are bringing through, you can see it as energetic currency if that feels powerful for you, and you're choosing what you want to trade it for. And it is all 100% up to you. And you have full possibility, and it is just as easy, if you will, to trade something for 100,000 as it is for $10. You just have to choose it. The reason that is equal probability is because energy there is no measurement in energy. And so you have access to unlimited energy. And so if you're trading energy and you have access to unlimited energy, then the only measurement that ever exists is the measurement once it starts to go through you, right? So I also want to bring back into the focus here the difference in 3D evidence as seeing that as real and as reality, and actually the 3D evidence being something that you are seeing as the observer. So I'm back here and I'm looking at the evidence and I'm going, huh, well, I have a knowingness that that's it. There's a lag effect in the 3D world. I've already created that. So now I'm looking at that, and am I going to see my meaning that I had before on it, or am I going to disconnect my meaning because that's the only time it really could possibly be useful if you want to talk about it and frame it in terms of expansion. So I'm going to end that here. Grab onto what you can grab onto with that. Bring it back into your world. We will be having in-depth conversations on this inside of the SI Club. So if you want to join us for that, just go to thespiritualinvestor.com and yeah, say hi to me on Instagram as well. All right. So much love to you guys.